Hello, Leon. Hello. Our next speaker is Leon Elias Otmans. He's an online marketing manager of Lightfair Digital Marketing GmbH. And he's well known for the in the Mautic community as the former head of education team. He's creator of many great learning resources, co-host of the Mautic podcast, frequent conference speaker. And today he will talk about one of the most important features in marketing automation, double opt-in, something every marketer relies on. And Leon, the stage is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much for the warm introduction. It's nice being here. Very happy to be here once again talking about double opt-in. It's been quite a while, about 2 years, 3 years since I've last talked about it. So I'd say we get right into there, and I will just share my screen and you can see my presentation. That looks good. Perfect. So yeah, warm and welcome to everybody who is attending. I'm going to talk about double opt-in with Mautic in 2025 and also introducing the new double opt-in plugin that we have developed at Leuchtfeuer. And Joey took away really good already, but just a brief rundown on who am I. I'm Leon Neutmanns. I've been working at Leuchtfeuer Digital Marketing since about 2018. I'm currently employed as a Mautic integrator and also been involved with Mautic since about 2018. So I've been around the Mautic community from here to there, been part of the community, led the education team from time to time. But yeah, Joey already gave a very good introduction, so no need to duplicate. So let's talk about what this talk will be about and how I've structured it. At the start, I just want to take a brief look at the state of double opt-in, because double opt-in has been changed somewhat since 2022. I want to talk about how to implement double opt-in in a vanilla environment. I want to give you the introduction to our new double opt-in plugin, and then just some final words of closure so we can wrap it up nice and tightly. For now, let's talk about the state of double opt-in, because the state of double opt-in couldn't be any different than we've expected, because it has not disappeared or turned redundant. It's still there, and it's still as important as it ever has been. It's so strongly recommended as a best practice to improve deliverability, list quality, and proof of consent. And in some countries, for example, in Germany, where I am from, it is taken as a proof of burden of proof. So when somebody wants to have your newsletter receive emails from you, you have to prove that they've done a double opt-in and really, really want your emails. In some countries, there are some similar rules, like in Austria, Greece, Luxembourg, Switzerland, and even Norway. But only in Germany, it is really taken as a strict law. In short, it is as important as ever. It hasn't really changed much. Or did it? What has changed since 2022? I want to talk about that because I have changed quite a bit, as you can see. But also double opt-in at Mautic have changed. Mautic has gone from version 4 to version 7 beta, with Mautic 5 being the version this talk will be about, and also which the plugin is compatible with at the current state. And double opt-in had not really changed much. It's still the same need for it. The main use logic in Mautic is same, the cookie cutter approach. Somebody fills out a form, we send an email with a link, we check if the link has been clicked, and then we have some post actions, whatever that suits our need. And I say, as this was the vanilla way, and I think most people still use that way, we should get on the same page and have a quick look at this cookie cutter approach. So let's have a quick peek. This is how the usual 9 to 5 Mautic campaign looks like. We have some segment, then we send out an email, then we check if somebody clicked on the link in the email. It's pretty much the same as has been in different styles, but the same cookie cutter logic for the last years, half a decade, I'd say. So we can add whatever action we need afterwards. And then our double opt-in logic is good to go. But there have been some different approaches in the past regarding double opt-in. There have been some plugins, there have been some logic, some other tutorials, some other approaches. So we thought as Leuchtfeuer, we might have to create a plugin or an easier way, better said, to have double opt-in ready and steady. And I want to take a minute and have a honorary mention alert, because there used to be a double opt-in plugin already. It was by our good friends at Content Optimizers. Some of you might have seen it. It's been around since, I think, Mautic 3, and the Mautic 4 version also received some love. But it was basically another way to approach the double opt-in, and it sadly is no longer supported. There is no working Mautic 5 branch of it. So there is the issue of, we have had a plugin which was doing really good. It wasn't super, super fancy, but it did what it should, and it did that really, really good. And we kind of thought, maybe we should have our own double opt-in plugin again, or have a working double opt-in plugin again. So we sat down, had some discussions, ideas, and then developed the plugin. So I'd love to show you our new DOI plugin. And just to give you a little bit of the pre-taste, it offers direct informed email validation without needing an extra campaign, without having to check for page hits inside of the campaign. And we can activate, deactivate email verification process on a per form base. So there is no need for any campaigns, any logic behind campaigns. It's all been done and dusted inside of forms. We can send out email reminders, so there isn't just like one approach and one email, and if that goes to the dust, we can no longer do double opt-in with our contact, but rather we have a logic to send out reminder emails. And it creates individual DOI links for each contact, and it offers post actions after successful DOI directly in the plugin. So like I said, there is no need for campaigns anymore, but rather we can handle that directly inside of our plugin. It offers conditions on when to initiate double opt-in. So there might be some logic where people come from the USA, for example, and then they don't need to process our double opt-in or initiate our double opt-in process. And we can skip that. And we can define that inside of the form directly. So to put it short, it's a real powerhouse. We really spent a couple of hours thinking about what we need and how we would like to have it implemented. And I think, in my honest opinion, we have a really, really valid approach. So to give you a bit more of the context, I'd like to briefly talk to you about the workflow of the DOI plugin, or how a real use case would look like. And first, we have a visitor sign up, which is basically the start for every double opt-in logic. Someone fills out a form on your website. And then the plugin kicks in immediately. Instead of immediately having post actions and adding the contact to any campaigns or sending emails, we kind of put the contact inside of a temporary waiting room, and we suppress all form actions. We don't need them. They're just on a hold stasis. Our verification email is sent. It automatically sends them a custom link that asks new contacts to confirm their identity. And then they're linked to a page that we have configured inside of the plugin. And if the confirmation is being given, so we can see the click of the email, the plugin registers that and sees, okay, this is a real person. They're genuinely interested. They have given us our consent. And then they moved out of this so-called waiting room. And then they're an official verified contact, and all the defined actions that we have are being fired immediately. So a little bonus on the side, there will be a timestamp set for date confirmed. So we also have a DOI timestamp, which is saved directly into the database, which is nice and neat. And if we need to check if somebody actually did double opt-in, we can even check when that was, because we have the date. And I hope everybody is interested now. I say we take an actual look in Mautic, and I have to sadly change the screen setup for a second because the video recording is not working. or you wouldn't have any sound. So I just need to quickly remove my screen and share my audio or my prepared video with you directly. So I could do that. Hello, and welcome everybody to the demonstration part of my talk. I will briefly show you how the plugin looks like directly in Mautic, how it feels like to operate, how to configure it properly, and which types of configuration there might be. And I'd say let's just not waste too much time and get right in there. We start off by creating a form from scratch, really a new one. And the first question we have to ask ourselves, do we need a campaign or a standalone form? For the email verification plugin, that does not matter. You can use both. So we start with a standalone form. In there, we just have to give it a name, pick a message that we want to display. You can already see the new tab called email verification. Let us quickly add a form field for email. And then we head right over to the new tab called email verification. As you can see, we have a new button now where we can enable the email verification feature for this particular form that is disabled by default. And if we click here, you can see a lot of new fields popping up, but don't worry, we only need the first couple of ones for the basic functionality, and I will talk about the rest that popped up below at a later point in this talk. For now, we really just need these three fields. We need to define which verification email we actually want to send out. I have prepared our emails already. Inside of these emails is a new token that we've talked about, the DOI link token. I will show you how it looks like in a second as well. But so you know, there's a token inside of this email. We can also define a follow-up email that we want to send. Follow-up in this regard means that we can define an email which should be sent out after X hours if the first attempt of the email verification was unanswered, but we don't want to just do one try, but we want to do two. How long these X hours actually take can be defined in the plugin config, and also here we will take a look later. For now, I will just select my reminder email. And then there's just one last thing that we need to define, and that is the thank you page redirect URL. That is basically the page that we want the contact to reach after the contact has clicked on the link inside of the email. So I just say we link him to Leuchtfeuer in this case for demonstration purposes. The verification email redirect URL we will talk about later as well when we talk about the rest. For now, you just need these three things to be filled out. There's also one more thing that I want to show you right now. That is a new type of actions, as you can see. We now have two types of actions that can be inside of a form. The first one is all the actions that happen immediately after a form has been submitted, which is your default type of form action. And you also have actions after successful email verification. And this also pretty much does what it sounds like. You can define an action, for example, adding a contact to a segment. Maybe I have prepared some. And this action will only be fired once the email verification link has been clicked. But you don't need any campaign or so to fire these actions. It is really inside of your form, directly, handy, and ready to be fired as soon as the verification has happened. And that is all we need for now. So I say we quickly jump inside of the emails, how they look, and then we will continue on the demonstration. here to take a look at the emails that I've shown you that we put inside of the form. This is our DOI email, and we have the reminder email here as well. These are basically very normal and simple, straightforward emails with the token that I've shown you before. Yes, nice. Let's go into the builder, and you can see inside of this form, inside of this email is a new token called DOI link. The same token is also hidden behind this button to demonstrate that it's a bit nicer to have this token also lay behind the button and does not display the whole link as text in the email. But I will show you that in a hot minute. Just so you know, if you want to use this email verification plugin, you just need to have this token inside of your email prepared. So I'd say we jump over to the landing page and the demonstration part. There we are on a landing page where I have implemented our form. It is still very simple. There's just this email field where I will now fill in my email address. And as soon as we hit the submit button, you can see that our predefined message will be fired. And now we will switch inside of my inbox, and then I can show you how the link looks. And then I will show you how the contact in Mautic looks. And there we go. Welcome in my inbox. As you can see, we have a new email which just arrived, which happens to be our DOI email. And as you can see, the token that was put inside of the email now has become a lengthy link. And this is also behind the button. If we now click this email right here, you can see that we have been transferred to the successful email verification page. We could have also picked and created a certain landing page for this purpose. For now, we just handed us over to the leuchtfeuer.com page. And if we now take a look in Mautic and take a look at the contact, we can see how it looks in there. In our Mautic, and we can see there is a contact that we have created by submitting our form, which surprisingly has my email address. And if we take a look at the contacts history, we can see by which form this contact has been identified, and also that the DOI email has been sent. There is no custom event to indicate that the email has been read or that the link has been clicked yet. But for now, we can see that the email verification process has been successful because all the actions, or in this case, this action that we configured to be fired after a successful email verification has taken place is here. And we can also see it in the segment right there. So this contact now has successfully verified the email address. We can also take a look at the database for this contact in particular, because there a timestamp will be set for this specific contact, which just writes down on which occasion, which date, which time the contact has actually verified the email address. So I'd say we switch over to the database and take a quick look in there. There we go. I don't want to go into too much detail, but for now, as you can see, we have 3 new tables: the form DOI actions, the config, and the form DOI submissions, and also the default vanilla Mautic table for the form itself. Interestingly enough, for us, the form DOI submission is where all our important information is being stored, because in here we can see the email address of the contact who has successfully, in this case, verified the email address. You have lead ID, the form submission ID. You have the hash, which was built from the email address, and a couple of other factors. So we can create a personalized individual link. And you can also see the date confirmed. And this date confirmed is the date that the email address has been, like I said, confirmed. But you can also see here very close to date created, and the status is not longer pending, but is already confirmed. So let's take a closer look at this, because we have one more information that can be found here, which is the date follow-up sent. The date follow-up sent in this case now indicating that no follow-up has been sent. But let's quickly get over on how this actually works when we want to follow-up date to be filled, or rather to have our follow-up and reminder being sent out. Because if we want our follow-up to be sent out and have that configured, like I said earlier in the talk, we need to check the plugin configuration page. Right here, there is only one feature, which is the configuration of the follow-up wait time, which means we have a timestamp for the date created where we first send out the verification email, and then we have a time frame that we can configure after how many hours, if there has not been a successful email verification yet, the reminder should be sent out. And for that, the plugin brings a little command line command to check if the time has been reached between the first try and the configured time frame. And if this time frame has been reached, then and the command is run, then the email is being sent out. So usually you should configure the cron job to let that command be run about once per hour, once per 30 minutes. It depends on what you configure as your follow-up wait time. But that is how this is configured. And I'd say we now also take a closer look at the rest of the form, because there were some fields we did not yet talk about that we should talk about. So let's start right here, the verification error redirect URL. In that case that something goes wrong, we don't really have a case where it should go wrong, but there might be a case the link hasn't been properly been built for whatever reason. This should never happen, but if it should happen, you can configure an URL where the contact should land instead. So I'd say we say error / do email verification again, just on the top of my head, so we can lead the contact to another page which maybe says, oh, there something was not quite all right, please start the verification process over. Yeah, we can also define conditions on when we want to skip the email verification. Maybe we have contacts that come in from different countries, and we only need the email verification when the contacts come from Germany, for example. Then we can define a condition where we skip the email verification part for everyone who is not from Germany. Or there could be a multitude of reasons. Maybe we already have their email verification and we stored that information somewhere, so we don't want to recheck like unnecessarily often, like in the legal rhythm, of course. But there can be times and use cases where we just don't need to have the verification process for every single contact because we have their verification already, for example. So we have different possible filters. This is pretty much the same as company. We can also check the form results. If the form results what X, we can also define a condition where we want to skip the email verification process. So there's a multitude of tools that you can use to define your own. I'd say we stick with my country idea and we say not equal Germany. So everybody who is not from Germany can skip the email verification process. This works, of course, best if we have a form field which asks for the country, so we can be sure that our contact actually come from Germany. also, there is the feature to skip the verification process if the browser is already known. So if we have a known contact and he's on his home device, he has a cookie, we know this contact actually, or this device belongs to this contact, and this contact already did the email verification, we can just say, skip the verification if the browser is already known. This is also pretty nice and handy for the user experience. If they are on their home device and they want to fill out a form, they don't have to do the verification again. If they come from a different device, so we're not sure if this person is actually the same that we expect him to be, then we be very defensive and still do the email verification, because we can't be 100% sure and we want to be 100% sure. What is also very nice, that we can define a successful form submit action if the verification has been skipped. So there can be a custom submit message or say form submit action for those who can skip the verification, because we want to show them another message, link them to another page. So we can, for example, set up a redirect URL and then send them to another page that just welcomes them directly, and they don't need to do the email verification process again. And I'd say this is basically it with all the details how we can configure the plugin. I'd say we go into a little demo again on how the email verification skipping could look like in action, and then we will wrap this up. So here we are back on our landing page. As you can see, the form has gotten a second field. I have extended the form to also include a country list, because we want to check if we can skip the email verification part based on the country. So in theory, I will just put on an email address right here. And if we select any country that is not Germany, we should skip the email verification. We can see the indicator for that being that there won't be a submit action that says hooray, and we won't get a new email, but rather we will be linked to the configured page. And this time it should be the Leuchtfeuer Mautic page. So if we click submit, we can see it worked. We did not get the hooray or the normal configured successful submit action, but instead we got the action that shows us that we have successfully skipped the email verification part. So as you just witnessed, the email verification has been successful and our redirect URL was working. So I think that is everything that I wanted to tell and show you folks about the new DOI plugin. And I'd say we take it back to the talk right from here. Perfect. So I hope everybody is still with me. I will reshare my screen to wrap things up quite nicely, because there was all the possible configuration for the plugin, and I just want to give some last and famous words. So the plugin, as already stated, is compatible with Mautic 5. The reminder emails need a cron job to be set up and being sent out. The plugin should be public by now on GitHub, and if it's not, I will check shortly after this talk to put it on public. Everything regarding cron job setup, etc., is written in the README, and we are open to feedback regarding the DOI plugin. If you have any improvement ideas, any problems, please write issues on GitHub and we will fix them as we can. And for now, that's it for my talk, and I'd be lovely to have any questions.
Thank you so much, Lon. Can you hear me? Because
I can hear you loud and clearly.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much. And also thank you for taking so much time and putting so much effort into this plugin, which is so much needed for the community. And in the questions, if you have any questions, please, there's a question mark on the right side. Add your question. There is one right now, and that's from me. So who is responsible for maintaining this plugin? in the future, like what's the long-term plan? Should this be included in the code? Obviously not your decision, but what do you think?
So for now, it is just plugin by us and maintained because it's Mautic 5 and it won't see the core, at least for Mautic 5 anyways, and it is not yet compatible with Mautic 7. But we'd love to push it forward as soon as we have feedback and people testing it through Owly, to have that in the core, because I think double opt-in is such a key feature for a lot of people. It should be inside of the core and really easily accessible for a lot of people. And I think this whole, battle about who has the best campaign for it, or do we just use the cookie cutter approach? And now we have this tutorial and that tutorial is just confusing. If we would have one core vanilla solution for that, a lot of problems regarding double opt-in would just disappear.
Indeed. I don't see any more questions under the question tab, so I think everybody needs a little bit time to go through the plugin themselves, install it, play around with it. So I hope this is going to spark a discussion in forums or in GitHub. And to any participants, so thank you so much again, Leon. And to any participant who would like to follow the next conversation, we're going to finish this one. You will have to hop on the next session. And let's hope we're going to start it on time. If in case we are a couple minutes late, it's just because we're also figuring out the audio and video challenges, what this platform represents. So thank you so much for your attention and see you soon there.